Good morning, everyone. This is Sam Al-Gawadi, and we have project management session today. It's just a foundation. This session will be around 1 hour. So just introduction and foundation for project management. The official training for project management should be around 35 hours. So usually we deliver the training in 5 days, 7 hours every day. So welcome again to Koala IT Services, and we start with the session. Please feel free to submit your questions in the chat and comments. So you will find in front of you the PowerPoint. You will find the links for my profile and the company. So we have other sessions also and other courses. We provide them for free at the moment. So the first thing we need to start with is introduction to project management. What is the project? So project, temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. This is the definition mentioned in most of the books. But before this definition, and long time back, if you remember great projects similar to Eiffel Tower, China Great Wall, pyramids in Egypt, and so forth, there are many projects actually. Big projects happened, and we need to think first about the need for the project. From where I get this idea from? How can I get the idea for the project, and why we have projects in the beginning? So we can think of competition. So company competes with another company, so that's why they need to improve, they need to be better, so they come up with some project ideas. So, for example, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they are competing together, so they are trying to bring some new products to the market, or BMW and Mercedes, they are competing together. So, if you don't mind, please mute your phones, your mics. Different companies, they come with different products to compete with each other, so they will have bigger market share and of course more profits than other companies. So this is one of the reasons. We could have new technologies. When the new technology comes, we will have new projects. For example, new Windows released, so we need to implement the new Windows in our organization, so it is a project to upgrade our infrastructure or upgrade our computers and so forth. So new technology, sometimes new rules and regulations. So this country permits now the import of new products, so we will have new projects. Or that country, they have vision for 2020 or 2040 or whatsoever, 2050 Olympic Games. So from this idea or from this need, we come up with projects for new rules, regulations, excuse me, new technologies, market share, demand, new ideas. Let's have Bluetooth, let's have iPhone, let's have iPad, and so forth. So sometimes the new ideas requires a project. So as we said, the project has a temporary time, so it must end at some stages. You know, as I mentioned, in some countries they have a vision for 20 years in future. So still, it's a big program, and under this program we will have the different projects. So, for example, infrastructure improvements, water supplies, and so forth. So even though if the project made by a country for long years and big budget, still a project, has a start and end. So the outcome of the project should be a unique result, unique product, unique service, or improvement in the current product or service. New product, new iPhone, new Samsung phone, new service, cloud storage, for example, or upgrade in the current product, new release of the car, new release of computers, new release of products or services or improvements. Okay, so that was the definition and the need. We have characteristics of the project. Let me make this one bigger. So the new characteristics of the project. You see on the screen, mainly, as we said, temporary, so defined beginning and end in time, limited resources. We will have limited resources, and we as project managers, we need to manage, or project team members, we need to manage these resources. So resources still limited, even though if this project managed by a country, still a limited resource. So time, people, raw material, machines, risk, and so forth. Unique outcome, so product service improvement, and not a routine operation. What about routine operations like financial department? This is a routine operation. HR, it's a routine operation. IT, it is a routine operation. But new branch for the company, this is a project. So it's the project characteristics. The fourth one, performed and completed by a group of people. They work together, and in that case, each one will have a role to play, some responsibilities, some accountabilities, and we will discuss that in details in the following slides. So now, what is the project management? So we defined the project, and what is the project management? The project management is application of these skills, different skills, knowledge, techniques, tools, different methods and ways of managing the constraints. In the references, they say we have triple constraints, but in fact we have more than that. So as we discussed in the previous slide, we have resources. So for example, human resources, we have materials, machines. So these are constraints we need to manage. Quality, we manage the quality, it's one of the constraints. We manage scope of the project, we manage risk, we manage budget, we manage different resources, different constraints. So time also is the sixth one, so we have 6 constraints. Okay, so when we start a project, we will have 5 phases, and starts with initiation, then planning, then execution, monitoring and controlling, then closure. So these are the 5 phases of the project management. Project life cycle, as we mentioned, it will start with initiation till closure. So in initiation, we define the project phases, We define the scope, the business objectives. We assign the project manager. We tell the project manager to get the project team, or we help the project manager with selecting the project team. We create the scope of work, SOW, the business case for that project. We create the project charter, which is a document giving authority to this project manager to manage the project. We will set up the project office, which could be physically or virtually. We do the feasibility study for the project. So this is the initiation. After that, we go to planning. So in the planning, we will have the project organization chart, the work breakdown structure, which is WBS, decomposing the big problem into smaller problems. We will have the project management plan, which consists of many other plans. So plans for communications, plans for constraints management, plans for which includes risk and scope and quality and the 6 constraints. We will contract suppliers. So and we might have a kind of agreements with the suppliers or SLA if the project has a long period to be executed. So this is in the planning, and it's important. I know in many organizations and countries we start with execution, then we plan afterwards, which is totally wrong, and that's why 40% of projects fail. So we must plan, then we start the execution. By the way, planning will never stop during the life of the project. So the project life cycle, it is not linear like what we have on the screen. It's a cycle. So plan, do, check, act, Deming cycle. Plan, do, check, act, then plan, do, check, act, and so forth. So we have here executing and controlling. During the execution of the plan, we will build deliverables. So we have 10-floor building. This is the project. So we finish the first floor after 2 months, second floor after 3 months, and so forth. So we have specific deliverables related to time. In execution also, we will have the status reports. So we will monitor, and here comes the management. So management, it's monitoring and controlling. Controlling means taking corrective actions based on the status report. So we can get this status report on daily meetings or weekly meetings or emails or phone call. It depends on the project size. Then we also manage change requests according to scope and contingency, according to budget, according to time, and so forth. We will check the project risk and issue logs, production, transition, and different. We execute different plans, including communication, for example, stakeholder management, for example, and so forth. Then, once we have the deliverables, we will close the project. So closing the project includes user acceptance, lesson learned, documentation, project closure report, payments of the invoices and bills if still we didn't pay them, some celebration that we finished the project on time, on budget, managed risks. We need also to have the lesson learned so we can know more and we can learn from that project thing. Okay, good. So, initiation phase, we determine the nature and the scope of the project. So, scope management, one of the important constraints to manage and one of the important plans we need to have. So, we will initiate the project, we will develop the charter, and we will have scope statement as an overview. Then we go into the process. So this is the initiation process group. So the inputs for that, the project statement of work, business case, why we need to have this project, agreements, approvals, enterprise environmental factors. Do we need a license? Do we need to get permission? Do we need some kind of contracts in place, some kind of insurance and so forth? Organizational process assets. So here, policy, what is the policy saying? Do we have any records of previous projects? And so forth. Then we will have expert judgment. This expert judgment could be your personal experience as a project manager, managed similar projects before, or some team members, they managed similar projects before, or we know someone in the company, or we check with the project management body of knowledge, online, we search, we research, we ask consultancy, third parties, and so forth. Then we will have the project charter. Good. Part of that, we will have RACI chart. So RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, informed, and sometimes we add Q, which is quality reviewer. So as we see here, we will have this kind of table. In that table, we will have different tasks and we will have different employees. We could have names or titles. Then we decide who is responsible for doing what, who is accountable for doing what, who will be consulted when we execute this task. Just to highlight the difference between accountable and responsible. The accountable person is the head of the team, the head of the department, the head of the company, the head of the country. So one person only. So who is accountable for company X? The CEO. This is the accountable person. And most of the accountable people, they don't execute the tasks by themselves. They have people helping them with that. So, but they are accountable. So if we have a prime minister of a country or president of a country, this person is the accountable person, and we have people working and reporting to this person. They are helping him or her with different responsibilities. So these are the responsible people. Could I be accountable and responsible at the same time? Yes, but you will be accountable for each task has one and only one accountable person. So in that case, we can investigate, we can ask, we can get the task done. This is the reference person we are referring to. So one accountable person per task. Then we can have multiple responsible people working on the same task, reporting to this person and helping with the execution. If we have a branch manager, for example, so the branch manager, if we think from the branch point of view, this is the accountable person. But from a company point of view, this person is a responsible person. So because this person reports to a higher authority. Good. Then we will have informed. So someone we inform that we purchased this item, we hired this person. So we inform someone. Someone else consulted. So they are expertise in their field, subject matter experts. So SMEs. So we ask them for their opinion and ask them for their input. Quality reviewer, this is additional thing to the RACI chart, and this person could be a person or a team, will check the quality, to maintain the quality, and manage the scope of the project. Good. Then planning. Planning comes after initiation, and we need to have plans for different aspects, different resources we are managing, and of course the planning phase has a time limit, has a budget also. So there is monitoring and controlling around the planning phase itself. So in the planning, we have a process with inputs, project charter from the previous initiation phase, and other processes, outputs from other processes. We will have always, most of the time, we will have enterprise and environmental factors and organizational process assets, documents, and so forth. Then we will have meetings during the planning. We do brainstorming. We make interviews. We discuss with people. We know how we will manage conflicts, how we will manage meetings, when and how these meetings will happen. Is it online meeting? Is it face-to-face or virtual meetings, and so forth. Then the outputs will be the project management plan. Of course, as I told you, this is an introduction to project management, and we don't go deep, but we just discuss. It's like an overview. So execution, we will execute the different plans. So here comes the integration plan, integration between different processes. So we will have procurement, we will have contract administration, we will have communication, we will have quality assurance happening. We started to build our building or having the new branch and so forth. So during that time, again, it's a cycle. During the execution, we might find that we need to implement corrective action, implement change request. For the corrective action, if it's approved, we need to plan again how we will implement the corrective action, how we will take this corrective action. Is the standard change or emergency change or normal change? So the difference between standard and emergency and normal. Standard change, pre-approved, pre-budgeted. So it's a standard change, so it just needs to be implemented because it's pre-approved. Pre-approved means it's tested and budgeted for. If it's just a normal change, so the normal change will go to change advisory board, and this is committee consists of different members, so they will approve or reject the change requests when they have a meeting, weekly meeting in most of the projects. So they will check the normal change request, RFC, request for change, and RFC could come from anyone in the organization or someone in the project team. So it depends on the change management perspective we are discussing. So this change, if it's normal, it will go to change advisory board, the CAP, so they can approve or reject. In some cases also we will have the emergency change advisory board, which is ECAP. So emergency requests could go to, or must go to these people, so less in time, less in process, and most of the issues comes from emergency changes, by the way, because it is not studied well or tested well. So it's an emergency, so sometimes issues happen. So as we said again, in the execution, monitoring and controlling involved. By the way, monitoring and the controlling involved from the very beginning. So, but also planning never stops. Good. Documentation, very, very important to have documentation within our project, because in that case we can take future decisions. We can know exactly what will went wrong, what has went wrong, or what has went well, or what will happen in next projects, what we should do in next projects. So documentation helps a lot in different areas. You can think with me, from documentation we get the lesson learned, so different lessons. From documentation we can exchange experience. But monitoring and the controlling, we said it's in execution. Yes, it will happen after execution, but this is the monitoring and the controlling part related to execution. But of course the initiation phase will be under the controlling and monitoring umbrella. Planning will be under this umbrella, execution under that umbrella, and also the closing of the project. So what's involved there? We will have the project management plan, any approved change requests, again the enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets. Then we will have tools and techniques. We use different information systems, Primavera, project, Microsoft project, any Trello, Monday, whatever the project management tool, which is a very important thing to have a tool for managing projects. Not Excel, to be honest. You don't use Excel for project management. I know some of you will use Excel for project management, but believe me, if you try different tools designed for project management, this will save you lots of time and efforts, and it will help you a lot with reporting, with monitoring and the controlling and so forth, because these tools designed for project management task, it includes time engine, it includes monitoring tools, reporting tools, and so forth. So please, if you are trying or if you are planning to manage a project or managing projects now, please consider a tool. Any tool will be fine. It depends on different parameters like budget you have, the size of the project, what experience you have, and so forth. So if you have good experience with Microsoft Office, so Microsoft Project has the same interface, integrates well with the Outlook email application, integrates with Excel, so you can copy and paste or import and export between Microsoft Project and Excel. It integrates even with reporting, different reporting tools and so forth. So it's a good idea to use a tool. There are many tools, so please consider that if you are not using the one already. But Excel is not a project management tool. The outputs from the monitoring and the controlling phase will be different deliverables, the work performance data, different change requests. We need to change something, we need to change the scope, of course within an agreement, and scope management plan and quality management plan. We update the project management plan, we update the different project documents in place, like insurance, contracts, and so forth. In the process, here we have the planning process group, the execution, and the outcome. You see the circle, the outcome will, or the next phase will be the closure. So we report on performance, we check the scope, we control the scope changes, we control the cost, we control time, we control quality, we control procurement, we control the change and check the integration. So most of the resources will be consumed during execution and monitoring phase. So you see here in the monitoring and controlling cycle, so where are we now, the measurements, and where we plan to be, evaluation, then how can we get on track again, correction. So plan, do, check, act. These are the different phases of the project. Good. Then we close the project. We have the deliverables. We sometimes we dismiss the team, we release the team, we close the contracts, we have the deliverables, we make payments, we sometimes pay bonus for people, or we have a party and review the documentation, have the lesson learned. So we have contract closure, and then we close the project. Good. So in the project management, we have knowledge areas and different processes. By the way, this is according to PMI, and they change the processes every few years. It depends on the improvement in project management field. So the 10 knowledge areas, we have integration, scope, time, cost, quality, procurement, human resources, communications, risk management, stakeholder management. Needless to say that we have 10 knowledge areas, and we should have 10 plans. So the 10 plans, minimum 10 plans, together we call them the project management plan. So if we think about integration, so this is the interface between different inputs and the outputs, different phases, different resources and management. Then we have the scope management. So what is this product? What is the definition of that product or service we are delivering? How we will deliver that? How much roughly we need? How long it will take us to deliver this new unique outcome? So within the scope, we think about the definition of that scope. We think about the quality of the output. We think about risk involved before starting the project, during execution of the project, and after the delivery of the outcome. How we will manage this scope. Do we have contingency for the scope? So for the quality, for example, what level of quality we need to achieve? Do we have laws and regulations related to quality we need to stick with? Country quality, global quality standard like ISO or company quality standard. So we need to know that. WBS, so we will have a big system, big project, big outcome. We decompose that into smaller levels. So we use different techniques here, sometimes 4 levels of the decomposition. Sometimes we use 88 rule, which is every 80 hours of work we divide them until we reach 8 hours work package. Sometimes we divide according to this job or this task will be done by a group of people, one entity. So it depends on how we will decompose, how we will break down our work. We do that because we have a big project and we need to decompose it into smaller issues, smaller challenges, so we can manage it in a better way. So this is the whole idea of the WBS. In some governments, we give different numbers for different levels. So, for example, the air vehicle here, it's level 2. So then the airframe will be 2.1 or 3.1. It depends on which numbering system we need to follow. So it could be 2.1 is the air vehicle, 2.2 is the SCE program management, then the 3.1 is the airframe, 3.2 is the software or system software and so forth. Good. Then time management, schedule management. To manage that, we need to know when we will start the project, initiation, when we will start the planning, when we will start the execution, and when we will have the project closure. And do we need to have a kind of contingency, 10%, 20% of time? So we might be late. We need to think about that. And it's part of our project plans to have the time management plan or schedule management plan. Then budget. Budget is estimation for future. Accounting, this will record the past events. So we have budgeting and we have accounting. So it's here we estimate the project costs for different types of costs, of course, like initial costs, running costs, other costs. And again, here we must have contingency. Sometimes we have different types of contingency. The planning itself includes the contingency, or the management also, or the management will give us admin contingency. So we estimate the costs for labor, for equipment, for materials, for services, and you see the contingency is there. So budget for the project, and we will have budget management plan, cost management plan. We need to manage that during execution and even before execution and after execution, because monitoring and controlling will cost money, planning will cost money, initiation cost money. We are paying for people to do that, and machines and raw materials. Okay. Quality. So we need to agree on the quality with the customer, and according to country laws, global regulations, company laws and policies, it depends. It depends on the product we are creating, the outcome of that project. So we need to have quality management plan, and of course it includes different aspects, different items. So we will manage the quality with the contingency. We take also monitoring and the controlling of the quality management. Good. After that, we have the procurement. So in procurement, we have specifications, then selection, then we contract, we take control, we measure the quality of the procurement process, our vendors, the contracts between us and the vendors. We need to check that, we review that. We will have a process for the procurement, of course, and again, it's under the umbrella of monitoring and controlling. So we plan for the procurement, then during execution, we will execute that plan. Then the monitoring and the controlling will tell us which quality level we need, which challenges we had, and we solved. So we learn. Then based on the documentation and the lesson learned, we can decide whether we continue with the same vendor or we need to change vendors. What we need to do, should we buy all the raw materials before starting the project, or we buy during different phases, different deliverables, different milestones. So different decisions here. Should we tailor this software in-house, or we get off-shelf product and we customize it, or what we do? So this will procurement process, monitoring and controlling will help us with that. Good. The process here, we have inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs similar to other processes. So we have the project management plan, the procurement documents, agreements, approved change requests. We have the work performance reports, we have the work performance data. These are the different inputs. Of course, we have the contract change control system, we have the procurement performance reviews, we inspect, we do auditing, we report on performance, we make the payments according to contracts. If there are some claims, we need to manage that. We need to have also records management system for invoices and financial records and so forth. The outputs will be the work performance information, different change requests, we need to change something. The project management plan updates, different plans. The project documents updates, different documents. Organizational process assets updates. So we got new machines, we got new computers, we got new software. So it's part of our assets, part of our procurement process. So we need to have these updates and manage them in a proper way. Any question, please put them in the chat or in the comments. Now we go to human resource. So it's one of the different resources we have. As we said, the human factor is very important. And if you remember from the very beginning, we have the RACI matrix, which will assign people or titles or teams to different tasks. So HR, the human resource, is a very, very important aspect to be managed in the project management. So we need to define roles and responsibilities, the authority, competency, project organization charts, who leads what, who manages what. Should I report to person X or person Y? The staffing management plan. Do we need to hire this driver from the beginning of the project or after 1 month of the starting of that project? Do we need to get this experienced plumber in the middle of the project at what time? So HR will help us with that, of course. So it's a very important aspect to understand, plan for, manage under the umbrella of monitoring and controlling. Then in the closure, we will release the team or dismiss the team or keep the team, but make the payments for that team, give them bonus, payment during the project life cycle. It depends. Communication is one of the constraints we need to manage. So we need to know the stakeholders' needs, how to manage the stakeholders, how to report to them. Should I report through just status meeting, phone call, email, PowerPoint presentation, discussion? What type of reporting is required? How can we report on the project performance? How we will communicate? Is email is the best way, or we use some tools, or we use like different technologies, or we have virtual meeting, or we meet in a place, in a room, in a meeting room? It depends. So we need to plan for the communication, and we need to know that the communication also, everything actually, not only communication, under the umbrella of monitoring and controlling, to maintain the communication, the proper communication, and maintain the quality of the communication, and maintain that the communication conveys the message. So this is the importance of the communication plans and execution before starting the project, before initiation. Then during initiation, during planning, during execution, during closure, communication is always there. So we need that to be properly planned for and managed. Good. Risk management, one of the important constraints we need to manage different risks. Earthquakes, for example, in Japan, or volcanoes in some countries, or diseases in some other countries, and so forth. So it depends on the risk type. We need to identify the different risks. If we are building something, building a new branch, so what type of soil is there? Do we need permission? How long it will take to get this permission? It's a risk also. Can we get the people to execute that? Can we get the machines to do that? Can we get the material to do that? It's part of the risk. Fire risk. So natural disasters, or risk related to lack of experience, or risk related to lack of standards, and so forth. So there are different risks we need to identify, quantify, and we do the quantitative analysis, qualitative analysis, prioritize the risk, then we deal with the risk, mitigate, avoid, accept, and so forth. Different details about risk management. And should we have risk transfer? Should we have insurance in place? Should we have extinguishers in place? What we need to have. So risk management is a very, very important topic and aspect we need to manage in our projects. Risk of death and of some team members, it depends on the situation and the environment. So the environment factor and the previous also documentation from the previous projects in the same area or same scope or same environment. It's very important to check these documentation and these documents and check with SMEs. So after risk management, or the plan for the risk management, we have the stakeholder management. So in the stakeholder management, stakeholder definition is anyone who will be affected positively or negatively by doing or not doing this project. So again, anyone will be affected positively or negatively by doing or not doing this project is a stakeholder. But key stakeholders are the decision makers. So we need to manage both. So we need to understand different needs. So environmental groups, government, we need license, we need permission, we need to follow some standards. We need, of course, the customer is stakeholder. The project manager and the project management team, they are stakeholders. Our company is stakeholders. Third party consultant is a stakeholder. So we need to manage them knowing their needs, what they want and what they need. We document that. We need to identify the stakeholders. We document their needs. We analyze their influence or interest. So here we can know the decision makers. We manage their expectations. We provide reporting. We take corrective actions. We review that maybe during the project time, especially if it's a long time project. The stakeholders will change during the project life. So if we have a change of the stakeholders, we can take corrective actions and implement this change. So, as we said, these are the 10 plans we need to have in place, and managing them from start to end. And of course, the detailed project management course will go into each of these plans and tell you exactly what to do, how we do it, how we select project A, not project B, on what basis we manage our team, how we will manage the quality, how we will manage the scope. Of course, this will be in the full project management course, which we will provide soon. So I hope that session was informative and helpful, and I hope that if you have a question, you can submit this question in the chat. So I hope today's session was also beneficial and you learned something new, and please submit questions in the chat or comments under the video. Thank you for your time and have a great day.